Okay. Present. At the time is now 7:04. Present. Michael Brown, Ron M, Teresa online, Kathy Thompson. No. Okay. Considering the minutes of the 11/29 meeting. This is one that Kathy was at that meeting, and she was going to do the minutes. We sent to her the recording of the meeting afterwards, but she didn't get around to it. So I did that myself, and it's probably better that I did because I included a lot of detail that I just thought, and in the future, someone wanted to know how we came up with the goals that I would want to describe the process. Um, may I hear a motion to approve the 11/29 minutes?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 29th.
Seconded.
2023.
All in favor?
Yes, Michael Brown.
Michael Brown, yes. Ronald Montgomery, yes. That is approved. All right, same thing for the January 17th meeting minutes.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th, 2024.
Thank you, Michael. I second. In favor, Michael?
Yes.
In favor, Ron? Approved. Thank you. Let's see. We were all present at the select board meeting we had on 1/23. Kathy was the only one who wasn't there, and I was hoping to fill her in, but she's not here. So we'll is there any further discussion of that? I mean, what happened at the September meeting for us to record for in minutes?
No, I don't think so.
It went well. I think we can record that it went well. The board seemed to appreciate what we've done and supportive and encouraged us to visit the planning board. All right, next was the planning board one. And again, we were there. I don't think Teresa was there at the planning board one. Were you, Teresa? Were you looking in on that one? Teresa, yes.
No, I wasn't there.
You were not there. I see your hand up. You have a hand up. Okay. You were not there. All right. So at that planning board meeting, again, they seem to understand, what we're trying to do, the goals-oriented approach. They seem to appreciate that and thought they could work with that. In detail, they did have us get into some detailed discussion of the goals themselves. And out of that discussion, I don't think they had a lot of time to look at it, but they asked some specific questions about the particular goals. The only place where I ran into what I thought could be an issue in the future would be that one of the planning board members suggested from his career experience as an architect that the electrification may be too specific of a goal and wanted to work with that or modify it somehow. We did not object to that. However, what we would like to see happen after that is the topic of our next agenda item. So I don't have any objection to someone, making suggestions and modifying the goals that we had, but that document has to belong to somebody. Somebody has to be responsible to say yes or no. And that, I believe, should be the Energy Committee. That was our set of goals to start with. And if there are changes to it, we should be able to endorse whatever changes are made. You'll look at the document that I did give them, the Townsend Energy Goals. I did, in the last copy of that, and the one that I presented to the uh, select board and the one that we brought to the planning board, both had a revision 00 printed on it and the date 2024-01-23, which was the date this became public and went to the select board. If there are any changes, we're really on to our next item on the agenda, which is, where was it? Oh, I put it over here. Discuss goals list revision, tracking and approval process. There has to be a process for dealing with a document like that. If it's going to become part of the Townsend
Master plan.
master plan, thank you. We have to have someone responsible for this part, and that is our responsibility. So I don't think it was made clear enough, Teresa, to anyone that the subcommittee under the select board is responsible for that document. And if, I don't mind people changing punctuation as long as it doesn't change the meaning. But when we start changing terminology, it can get back to us at some point. Because what we did is we very heavily went towards the goals that are supported by the funding parties. In other words, the state of Massachusetts, to us known as the Green Communities Grant Program. They talk about electrification. Electrification is the term that the gentleman had a problem with. If he wants to make changes to that include maybe expand on electrification to give more options, which is, I think, what he was really objecting to, is being, pigeonholed into electrification as a method of reducing carbon. That's fine. If you can come up with other ideas, I think we would welcome other opportunities. But any change that goes in there, I think, has to go back to the Energy Committee to approve. And I would like to get your opinion on that, Teresa. I don't know what your relationship is. I mean, I don't know what the select board's relationship is to the planning board, how that organizationally works. But I think we need to make it clear that changes made to this document need to come back here to the Energy Committee so that we can look at, approve, disapprove, go into a conversation with someone who wants to make the change before we make the change. And when we do make a change, the revision number and date will change on the document. It has to be a controlled document. And then, on an annual basis or a 3-year basis, whatever the planning board decides, we would relook at it and redate it for new revision and so forth. But I wanted to call to everyone's attention that this is a control document. It has to be. Otherwise, it's not the Energy Committee's document, right? What do you think? Teresa, I haven't heard you speak. I'd like to hear your response to that. She's listening.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure how all the different committees and boards really fit in. It may be that we can assert our desire to give advice and give our opinion, and that we'd want to review any changes. I'm not sure if we can, if it really comes down to that the planning board wants to make a change and then we discuss it and they still want to make the change, that's probably ultimately up to them, because I think they're the elected officials that are writing the master plan.
I'll go with that, yeah.
So
we're an advisory board.
At the very least, we would request that we review any changes and
we
give
need
our
to have
opinion.
an opportunity to make a case.
Yeah.
All right. And we need an opportunity to someone has to be responsible to change the revision number. Would we make a change? This is not the original document. We should have a series. If it gets changed 4 times in 10 years, there ought to be a history of why, where, or when. That's what I think. And it sounds like we're together on that.
Yeah.
Teresa, how do we communicate that to the planning board? That we need to be consulted for the energy on the energy goals if there is a change proposed. Teresa?
I was about to step away. Is she? Oh, yeah.
Teresa? Teresa?
All right, we'll come back to it if she comes back.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Incomplete. I'm going to mark that one incomplete discussion because we couldn't get Teresa. I wonder if she's muted or something.
She is muted.
All right. Well, I just want to fill in what I want to say in the minutes while I'm thinking about it. Pardon me a second.
Oh, sure. That's fine.
If I'm an advisory board, my advice is that we control that document. That's the advice.
Yeah, I think the issue, it was Bob Tieran on the planning board.
Yes.
Brought that up. I mean, he gave an example, if I recall, that you don't want to be too specific in mandating certain things. Like he gave an example in buildings where when buildings are too tight, that's great for energy efficiency, but then it's a problem for indoor air quality. Well, and I guess there was a school where people were getting sick because there was no air exchange. So, that's a general principle that, yes, there are unintended consequences. And I don't know that means that there's any disagreement, particularly with electrification.
I don't know what he wants to introduce. He may want to eliminate the term electrification. I know my son is a contractor, and he says the things they're asking us to do are so over the top ridiculous. It's crazy. He's got the same experience as Bob, and yes, we are going to fight with some people who resist. And in the meantime, people will be coming up with easier and more economical and better ways of doing things, I'm sure. But right now, it looks ridiculous. And yeah, 5 books of instructions on how to build a building. Not great. All right, so I think we understand, everybody understand that.
I'm sorry, I told you I have to be coming up back and forth. I'd be able to listen, but I wouldn't be able to talk all the time. I understand what you're trying to say about the planning board, but
you're broken up now, but we have a.
I understand what you're trying to say about the planning board, but if the planning board is just like when we bring a certain thing to a law, it's that doesn't go with the actual
Can you understand what you're saying?
No.
We can't understand.
No, then they can have an opinion and ask us to change it.
All right. The thing is,
hold on.
We can't really understand you that well. The speaker or whatever is breaking, or maybe it's your microphone. I don't know, but neither Mike nor I. If he could understand you, I'd ask him what you said.
Better this way?
I can't hear.
Just now.
Can you hear me better this way?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, can we hear?
Okay. What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just like going to a lawyer. If there's something the planning board that's against the bylaws of the town or different things of the town or different things that the planning board have already approved, and they can make changes and bring it, explain why. If it's just a suggestion, you can explain, they certainly can make, if you don't have to follow that suggestion, you can say to them, look, I appreciate your suggestion, but this is why we're going. You
I do
want
not,
it up.
I can't understand
Yeah.
everything you're saying.
Yeah.
But can you?
Yeah, it faded out like the last half minute or something. But I think what you're saying is they may find things that are possibly inconsistent with whatever, with bylaws or town policy or whatever, and
Right.
we can have a discussion.
But the
And
change that you just talked about certainly doesn't seem to have anything to do with policy. It just seemed to be more of a feeling that they had. So I would go back to them and say, unless there's a policy, we appreciate the suggestion, but we're keeping with our current language.
Right.
yeah, and I think
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I
And how did we leave it? They were going to take a look at it.
Yeah.
And I think actually like Beth Faxon is going to.
But really, she was going to take over really to look at it and match it up and get it sent to the individual departments, eliminate items from the list that would not apply to the police department. I mean, there's some things there that that they're not going to do the goals. So they would have the police department only look at the goals that are likely to be relevant to the police department, and the same for the other,
right,
areas, which sounds great. It means that these very busy people like the police chief and fire chief don't have to look at stuff that don't apply to them. That sounds great. The problem that I see, my experience says that when you have a document like this, you should really explain the reason. Have a list. It's a index of you made this change to this line, and you did it because of this, and you have a list of why things were changed. And then when someone says later on, well, why didn't we do this? We know, it's already there. And if Green Communities grant program would say, well, why aren't you doing this? I could say, well, we found that it didn't match up with, what, that's what we found. Then we've got an answer. But I just want to make sure that we keep track of changes that are made, because the list of goals that we made are to help achieve grant success. Because it does match up well with what the state's doing. There are a couple of things that we didn't mention in it that could have been, but it was already getting to be, a long list. And someone may suggest later on that we add some of these things, which is fine. But it's that was the point of the item on the agenda. And I apologize, I did not remember that you had other things going today simultaneously with this meeting.
I mean, would it make sense to just ask, since I think the planning board kind of assigned their staff person, Beth, to kind of look at it and maybe make suggested changes, maybe to talk to her, and I could do that and just get clear what is the next thing that's going to happen.
What from Beth?
Yeah,
Okay.
With that document.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, do that. Great. Okay. I don't know how far I will get with this today because I didn't make many notes myself for it, but I wanted to we created a list of goals. So the next thing was to discuss what things we need to do to, our part of the goals, because there's the education bit for one, obviously. In supporting the goals, do we need to create definitions and stuff that would go into, the energy part of, someone's trying to find out what decarbonization is because they don't know. Well, then we're familiar with the term, we use it all the time, but a lot of people may not. And if they want to, if they ask the question, they may be able to find the answer, where we've already put it up. But I think I'm going to kind of table this discussion for the next meeting because I don't have a good list, other than the ones I've mentioned already. I don't have a great list myself. I would go through these goals individually and say what more can I ask everyone to do this, to go through the goals and see if you can come up with any ideas. See if we can come up with ideas on each goal. There's nothing more that we can do. It's kind of self-evident from the goal, or there might be something that we can do going forward. If we do that with some kind of a detail level, I think it might help define what we need for more people. We need more people, but what we need for skills for more people. I mean, if we were able to have someone come in here who was particularly skilled with PowerPoint, well, that would certainly help with our education piece because and you working with me, we probably do pretty good on that because I'm too verbose and I got too many freaking pages on my and you'd help me knock it down, the way you have other things. But that's what I had in mind, and I think we'll want to think about that more for the next meeting.
Okay.
Next page. All right. Green Communities grant status. I don't want to do this too many times, but Rise is disappointing me. He has not been responsive. And I'm getting close to the point where I'm going to say, I don't know what Rise is up to. Maybe Frank is sick or dead or something, but he hasn't been responding. And we don't have a complete good quotation to work from. We have all this work being done, but we don't have a quotation to go forward to the next one. And if someone like the police department calls me and says, "What can we do?" which they did, I don't have a current quote to send him. The Green Community Grant stuff is he doesn't have a quote because people who left the company and took the records with them. So he doesn't know how many light bulbs there are at,
So at some point, do they have to just send somebody
and have to do
get the information? Yeah.
I sent to him the quote that we had before because he didn't even know what hasn't been quoted anymore. It's like he's lost track of what. So I sent him the last complete quote that we had with a column marked, currently working on it. No quote, no quote, no quote, no quote, just to let them know which ones we needed. That's really all I can do. My next step with that, I don't know if I need to talk to Eric or somebody else, but I'm at the point where I could call can't remember her name because I never had to call her before. The woman who's responsible for this program from Green Communities.
Is it Kelly Brown?
Kelly Brown. Yes, same last name. Kelly Brown. To tell her we're disappointed I'm disappointed in Rise, not necessarily the work they're doing because I haven't seen that, but just the responsiveness on this quote. I'm at the point where I tell Frank, you got a problem finishing this quote. Don't make it our problem. It's your problem, not mine. And I don't know what help is available to him from the grant program because they already paid him once. All right. Green Communities Grant Program, I put on here, we're requesting that the town manager check progress, that he becomes the expediter. We want to know that the school, it's Spalding is being worked on, and that the town one is easy. You just call Rob, and Rob will be able to tell him where it stands and whether we can get it done by June or whatever. But it's the schools that is the big one, and they ought to be doing that right now, school vacation. But if they're not working on it now, they may have to put it off till summer. I mean, you got the April vacation.
Yeah.
But they'd have to put it off till summer, and then we won't get it done and inspected before fall, when we could be eligible to go again. But that is a request. Teresa, you tuned in now? I don't know if she's able to listen. But when you are able to respond, Teresa, or you don't have to respond, that's a specific request for the town manager, that he be the expediter on that contract, both schools and town. I don't think I'd get much of a response. I'm just a volunteer over here on the Energy Committee. All right, last item on this agenda. I noted there was a quotation done by Unitil, an offer made by Unitil late last spring. I think it may have been April or May. That's the dating on that I see on it. July 22nd, a few months later, Frank signed the contract. Now, I don't know if he sent it to me, because I had surgery and I was out of commission at the time. And go fast forward a few months, I got a request from the police department, can you do our LED lights? How can we do that? And I checked with Frank, and Frank said, well, you didn't do anything with the quote that we sent you. The town of Townsend didn't act on it. And I said, well, I didn't see it, send it to me. And there was a quote which was incentivized by Unitil, not the Green Communities Grant Program. And the return on the investment were pretty damn good, 30%. You could borrow money and then still save money. Frank said that he would have to check with Rise to see if the incentives were still good, and he'd have to check to see if the prices had changed. So check what?
Unitil, you mean?
Unitil.
Yeah.
Frank was going to check with Unitil. I told the town manager, I sent the stuff to town manager, to Eric, and he sent the question back to me and to, he also asked Karen at MRPC. He says, we've been offered this thing for LEDs. Is it worth doing? And I wrote a note to him that said it's absolutely no brainer. You could borrow money, and I don't think my text actually ever went out to him. I think I was editing it, and for whatever reason, I never sent it. But he did get a response from Karen. And Karen answered that she thought most of the town buildings were done, which is not true. We've done some major stuff, but we haven't done it all. And the big one that she sent was that there's really not that much, the ROI, return on investment, is usually good on LEDs, but there's a huge chunk for you to pay out of pocket, because the program doesn't, pay out of pocket. She didn't say because the program doesn't cover it anymore. And so she was answering the question for the Green Communities Grant Program. She was not answering the question for,
is this worth doing?
A new quotation from utility, because she hadn't seen it.
Right.
She still hasn't seen it. So Eric was misled to think that, not worthwhile. It's going to cost a lot of money, and he knows we don't have the money, but he doesn't. So anyway, we end up with an inquiry from the police department, and I called Rise to see, have you got, the quote? And he says he has to check to see if the incentives are still available and check the pricing. But that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. He hasn't responded, hasn't done anything. I keep, I guess, I usually give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of my notes.
All of this sounds familiar. I've seen the emails have come to me.
It's getting to be a frustrating thing. He may be busy every day, but, we've got business. And if he can't handle it, that's really what it comes down to, isn't it?
Right.
Quoting is part of the deal. I can understand how he'd get frustrated that he sent a quote. He really didn't do much with the quote as far as I can see. He signed it. But he sent the quote and we didn't respond. That's, some people who are really busy say, well, if I get an opportunity to do this or that, I'm going to do something where the people actually bought stuff rather than, that's the way it works. But I'm frustrated with him. So I may at some point want to request a different access to a different vendor, which means quoting and all that. I have no idea how that goes.
And it has to be if it's green community.
It has to be a Green Communities grant program approved vendor. And there are others.
Yeah.
I don't know how they are. I knew of Rise. Rise is a well-established New England, company. But, all right. So, Teresa, I copied you the note that I sent to Brad Hunter today. I sent Brad Hunter's name was and contact information was on one of the quote pages, down the bottom, email address. So I said, okay, Brad is at Unitil and he knows about this. Let's ask him. And he didn't. He got it. That was late today because I had sent it to John Napoli like at 7 o'clock this morning. He never responded. So then I went back to the documents and I say, okay, who else at Unitil knows about this?
Can you?
Yes.
Heard like half a word.
We only got a half a word of what you said, Teresa. She's cut out. Hartley?
Yes.
Is Teresa still with us?
No, she's not here now.
Okay.
Oh, we heard her voice for like a second.
I'll let her back in when she comes back in.
All right, yeah, good, thanks. We're basically done. I was just going to let her know that I am working on getting the quote for the police department.
What's the quote for? To do lights inside the building or something?
You want to do LEDs?
LEDs, interior, not exterior, right?
There are 2 exterior lights, and I believe they're probably exterior, but underneath a recess, like an overhang.
Right.
There's an overhang, and you walk into the building. It's like a little patio.
I remember,
in the back.
Yeah.
I think that's the lights.
Okay. Well, again, I have to always repeat, exterior lights must meet the requirements of our bylaw, and Rise was not aware of that when I mentioned it in the last email.
He's been told several times.
I'm probably literally not exaggerating, probably 10 times it's been discussed. But anyway, I guess we have to keep emphasizing it.
Right. Okay. Topics not reasonably expected. Teresa might have one, but I don't know yet. Open public forum. We don't have anybody here. Scheduling the next meeting. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised Kathy didn't show up.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, I prepared documents to send to her going back to November. I tried to make it possible for her to participate.
So 3rd Wednesday is what we're doing?
Yeah, next month you're away though.
March I'm not. I'll be okay. It's
March
April.
Okay.
I'll be away.
Okay, so, it is, for, March, third Wednesday in March.
I guess it'll be oh no, almost the same date.
20th, yep.
March 20th, as far as I know, that should be fine. Oh, I already have it on my calendar. We must have talked about it before.
Okay. And all we really got for homework at this point, unless I hear from somebody, it's, gonna be what actions can we take to support the goals? Yeah, some things that we really have to do, and there's some that we might do, I suppose.
Right. Okay. Give that some thought.
All right. We're ready to adjourn.
Okay, I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second motion. Michael Brown, aye.
Aye.
RM, aye. Hartley,
Yes.
we're ready to adjourn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.